Welcome back to Life with a Purpose. Today's guest, she is a neuroscientist, she lives in San Diego, and she has always been interested in the brain. At the age of 16, she knew she wanted to study neuroscience. Lauren, welcome to Life with a Purpose. I'm so happy to have you here. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to be here.
I know you know a lot about the brain, and I want you to share everything with us. I have to start a few, how do you say, statements that I found online, and I want you to tell us if it's true or false, because there are a lot of misconceptions, and I feel like we know the brain, but we don't know enough.
Yeah,
So
totally.
the first one, we are either left-brained or right-brained.
Okay, if we're speaking in like black and whites, I would say false, but there is some truth to that. Most people have a dominant side of their brain, but no, like every single person is both. You
It's
have
like
your left brain, you have your right brain, you use both. You just might be more dominant in one or the other.
it's like feminine and masculine energy. We have both, but one is
Exactly.
dominant. Okay. The second
Exactly.
one, the brain works best under pressure and under stress.
Oh, false, completely. That really depends on the type of person you are. Like some people cripple under pressure and some people perform better under pressure, but that is not a blanket. The brain does not just work better. It really depends on who you are as a person and your like upbringing and the way that your brain has been trained throughout your life.
hmm And also, I would assume, I would question: is it even a healthy issue if your brain only works under pressure?
Totally.
And
Totally.
we're gonna dive into it a little bit later. Second, women are biologically wired to multitask.
Ooh, this is interesting. I would say false. I don't think biologically it happens. I think societally it happens.
Like the patterns was repeated over and over again that now it's so like imprinted in our ways
Yes.
of doing. Okay.
Yeah.
Another fun one. Um, your memory works like a camera, so everything that we capture is like a movie in our brain.
False. It depends. Some people see a movie in their brain. Some people remember memories just in feelings. Some people remember memories in smells. So it really is dependent on the person. And that's kind of just a personal little thing. Like there's nothing you can do to make your memory work one way or another. It's just kind of how you are, how you're born, how your brain works from the jump.
hmm And the last one, your brain tells your body what to do, but your body cannot tell your brain how to think.
Oh, so false. Your brain and your body have it's a equal relationship. Like your brain gives your body input and your body gives your brain input. And both can be very, very, very strong. Like, especially a good example is like anxiety. Like, for me, when I used to have really bad anxiety, I would have bodily sensations, and that would make my brain be even more anxious because of the signals that my body was sending to my brain. So, my body was telling my brain to be anxious, and my brain was listening and was feeding into that. So, it's definitely a very equal relationship of brain to body and body to brain.
Really have to work together. I think that's the part
Yeah.
where people get confused that those two are separate, but it's really teamwork.
Yeah.
It's an exchange of information. You are a cognitive neuroscientist. What does that mean?
Yeah. So cognitive neuroscience focuses specifically on like behaviors and thoughts and your thought patterns and your beliefs versus there's like chemical neuroscience and different types that are more sciency to me where it's like we're talking about the hormones in your brain, we're talking about the synapses and the neurons, and we're looking at more of like there's like molecular neuroscience. So when I got my degree, I was most interested in human behavior, and I wanted to understand what in your brain makes people act that way, feel that way, identify that way, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, cognitive is more about the behaviors, the beliefs, the thoughts that you have.
Mm. What does purpose mean to the brain?
Ooh, this is a really good question because it depends on the person and your upbringing and your beliefs and what's been ingrained in you,
Mhm.
and your purpose can and hopefully will and should change throughout your life and as you kind of expand your beliefs and what you see in the world and all of that. But to your brain, purpose is what you strive for, like what you think your meaning is. Kind of like if you've ever seen the movie Soul, the Disney movie, there's a lot about like finding your purpose. And in the end of the movie, you realize like your purpose is just what ignites you to live. Like there's your purpose isn't to play piano or to be famous or et cetera, et cetera. Your
Mhm.
purpose is just to live and exist. So when you can reach a point in your life where you can like zoom out and realize that that is that would be the goal. Like the goal would to feel like your purpose is to just be alive. However, that is not what is common. A lot of us feel like we have to have a bigger purpose and work towards that. So your brain can really configure that in many different ways. It can also configure it in a way of like in confusion of being like, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't feel like I have a purpose. So I think it really depends on where you're at in life and like how much you've done in life already and experience and how you feel about yourself and where you are in life right now. That will change what your purpose feels like for you in your brain.
And when we think of how the brain works, why is it so difficult in our physical body or in our consciousness to know what our purpose is? Because the brain has all the information. So what is happening in the brain that
Yeah.
we don't have the message clearly?
Yeah. Our brain has all the information. And it's to the point where it has too much information. So our
Mm.
brain is literally taking every single thing in every single moment. Like sitting in this room, my brain is taking in every sound, every single movement that I
Mm.
see, even if I'm not consciously aware of it. And that happens literally as soon as you come out of the womb, like you start taking in sensory information. And because of that, we obviously have to have systems in our brain so we don't just get completely overwhelmed by how many sensations we're experiencing at every single moment in
Mhm.
time. So we have a part of our brain called the reticular activating system, and that part of our brain, its literal whole purpose is just to filter all of that information. And it will filter that information based off of what we choose to focus on and pay attention to. So that's where we have the power. Like we're not just at the mercy of our brain. We have the power to shift our focus and shift what we want our filter to look like. A lot of people aren't aware of the fact that they have that power or maybe don't really believe that they have that power and they feel like, they are just a victim and stuck at whatever they're at, but that's not the truth. So, depending on what you filter and focus on, that's what your brain is also going to filter and focus on. So if you feel like you don't know what's going on in your life or you don't really feel fulfilled or satisfied, but you also aren't yet at a point where you're ready to kind of take that full responsibility for that and that full action towards changing that, you might feel like you don't understand what your purpose in life is yet because you're
Mhm.
just in this middle ground where you haven't taken that action and you haven't taken that responsibility for yourself, but you also are like feeling eager and like you want to know what your purpose is and you want to feel that sense of purpose. You just
Mhm.
don't really, you're in the middle ground and you don't know how you're going to do that yet.
Mm. And it's really interesting because you said sometimes we are not aware that we have that power, or when it comes to purpose, we say we don't know. We know all the information is inside, but how could we work with the brain at the age of 30 or when we're grown ups, knowing that we have all these layers of information on top of the purpose that is hidden beneath it?
Yeah.
How could we work with the brain to try to get rid of the information that we don't need, or to go to the information that we need?
Yeah. So it's definitely a process and it's very layered. And the thing that's the most important to remember when you're working with your brain, and like your brain is a muscle that can be trained. So you are retraining your brain to be more in alignment with who you want to be. And you have to remember that that will take time. Like remembering, like,
Definitely.
you don't go to the gym once and like have a bodybuilder body.
We
You
wish.
gotta build it. Yeah, that
Yes.
would be great. That would be great, but that's not how it works. So it really is the same thing of like the consistency is what you need to have. And that's where most people struggle because with the brain specifically too, we're going to snap back. Like our brain, it's always evolutionarily, it is built to always go back to its baseline of what it knows is safe and comfortable.
Mm,
Even if that is not aligned with what you want, and maybe it's like you're safe and comfortable is living in poverty. Like obviously you don't like that, but your brain knows that that's what's the most familiar, and therefore it's going to try to always keep you there. So, knowing that it's gonna be a process and there's gonna be ups and downs. The way I described it to one of my clients is like if you have a rubber band and you're stretching the rubber band, it's probably going to snap back when you stretch it too far. But then when you go to stretch it again, it's going to be more stretched out than when you
mm,
started because you stretched it that far. And then you're going to be able to stretch it a little further and then it'll snap back. But then you'll be able to stretch it even further and it'll snap back. So it's you're not losing progress when you snap back. A lot of people just after the snapback kind of give up because they think that they can't change when in reality no, the snapback is going to happen no matter what. But if you re-stretch yourself, you're going to realize, oh, I can stretch back to where I was and then I can stretch even further beyond
mhm.
that. So to start, get clear on what do you want. And for me, I'm a very future thinker. So like if I think what I want, I'm thinking about in 30 years from now. And
Mhm.
obviously, you can't just jump from now to 30 years from now. So I'll think about that and then I'll backtrack myself like okay, 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 1 year from now,
Kind
6
of
months from
making
now.
smaller steps.
Yeah, create your smaller chunks for you, and then you gotta focus at step 1. So, like, how do I wanna feel 3 months from now? And what am I doing? So let's say, like, I wanna feel more confident 3 months from now. What am I doing right now that is not in alignment with what I want to be or who I want to be? Because at the end of the day, whatever you want in life is tied to your identity. Like if you want to be someone who's confident, if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to travel, that is your identity. You want to become someone who's confident. You want to become someone who travels a lot. You want to become someone who has a business. Like if you want to have a thing, you first have to become the person that has that thing, and that is your
Absolutely.
identity. So, all of this like mindset work is truly just identity work and shifting your identity, which is also really hard because we obviously get really attached to our identities and who we are, especially if a version of ourselves we're really proud of and we love that version of ourselves. It can be hard to be like, okay, I love this version of me, but this version of me is also not in alignment with the identity of who I want to continue to become. And it can be really hard to like let go of that old identity and move into a new one when you are genuinely fond of that version of yourself. I feel like it's a little bit easier when you're like, I don't like who I am.
Mhm.
So I can kind of, it's easier to let go of it. It's not necessarily easier to change because, again, the brain is going to try to snap you back, but it's easier to let go of versus emotionally. If you feel like I'm really happy with who I am, it's just not who I want to be. There's more growing that I want to do. So getting clear on who do I want to be And what am I doing now that's no longer in alignment with that? And how can I start slowly shifting out of it? And the start is, again, back to the reticular activating system. Like, start to change your filter, start to focus more on what's in alignment with where you want to go, and let go of focusing on whatever you're focusing on now that's keeping you in the alignment that you're currently in that does not work for you anymore.
Absolutely. And you said something really interesting. You said it I wanna you said something about not who you're trying to become, but how you're trying to feel. And when we don't know what our purpose is or what we want, I think it's a really important thing about focusing how we want to feel inside, because once we start to have these happy feelings or high vibrational feelings and emotions, that's when all the excess layer that we don't need are coming off and the real us is coming outside. So thank you for sharing this. And that brings me to the next question. Why is it so difficult for us to make those big changes? Because our nervous system is going to react. You said something about if your habit is being poor, it's not something nice, but your system is wired to get used to that. Why
Yeah.
is it so tricky to make those changes? We have the fears, but physically and in the brain and in the body, what's happening?
Yeah, totally. There's multiple reasons to this. One is called the change cycle, which is a cycle that everybody goes through when it comes to change, where it's like, I want to change, I start to change, I something happens and I fall off. I feel like I can't like stay consistent. I give up. And then we go back to, okay, but I'm just the same and I still have that desire to change. So I want to
Mm-hmm.
change. I try to change. Something happens. And that cycle can repeat and repeat and repeat. And some people, it's really easy to feel discouraged. Like if you want to start going to the gym, you go to the gym, you fall off, it's hard to get back, then you stop, then you feel like insecure and mad, and then you try it again. But if you repeat and try something over and over again and you still don't get the result you want, it's human nature to be like, well, then maybe this isn't just for me. Or maybe I should just stop trying. Like maybe I should just give up because clearly it hasn't worked. So like it's probably never going to work. So that is a really big contributor to people really struggling to make those big changes. And then another reason why we do typically fall off or self-sabotage or things like that is because our nervous system. So like I mentioned before, evolutionarily, when you think back to like the caveman days, our whole existence was survival. Like we had to survive till the next day. And back in the day, that wasn't easy. Like these days, yeah, if I were to say, if someone were to be like, oh my God, you think you're going to make it to tomorrow? You'd be like, obviously, what do you mean? But back then, when you're literally living in a cave and you only have fire and you have to go hunt for your food and there's freaking saber-toothed tigers out there, yeah, you might not make it till tomorrow. It is
You might
very
question it,
real
yeah.
that you might not make it till tomorrow. So our brains, our our society and lifestyle has evolved so much quicker than what our brains can catch up to. So our brains have not had the time to evolve to match the current state of like humanity that we live in. So that's why we get anxiety over big crowds, because back in the day, there it was not possible to be in a big crowd. But
Mm-hmm.
now we get in big crowds and our brain has not evolved to the point where big crowds are normal. And like things like technology and AI and things like that, like our brain just hasn't caught up to how quickly humanity has evolved. So our brain is still in the place where it's trying to help us survive. And the way that it does that is it notices patterns and knows, like, okay, I did this thing. I didn't die doing it. That means it's safe for me to do this
Mm.
thing. And anything that is unfamiliar, anything that you've never done before, never experienced before, never tried before, is immediately flagged by your brain and your nervous system as dangerous and as something that could potentially kill you. That means when you go to your first job interview that you've never had before, you might have extreme anxiety and your nervous system might be going crazy because your brain does not understand that you probably aren't going to die in your first job interview. All it knows is that you've never done this before, you've never experienced this before,
Mhm.
and therefore, we don't know if it's safe or not, and things could hit the fan, so we're anxious. Then you do it, your brain learns that it's fine, you're fine, and it's not as scary anymore.
Mm, mm,
So, a big thing, like, taking that leap of faith I know a quote that everybody always says is, "Do it scared," but it's so true, like, you have to do things scared so your brain can learn that it's not actually scary. Like,
mm,
there's so many things in life that you're never gonna not be scared before you do it. You
mm,
literally have to do it before you can stop being scared of it, and
mhm,
that's kind of a contradictory thing. A lot of people try to wait, like, "Well, when I feel ready, I won't be scared, so maybe I'll wait till I'm ready, wait till I'm not scared." That literally will never happen because of the way that our brain and nervous system works. Like,
mhm.
you have to do it scared, and then your brain will learn that it's not scary. So you kind of have to teach your brain how to continue to evolve with what you want.
I love that you said we have to do it scared. This, amen. I need to put it in my house. What would you, we need to do it scared. What could we do to minimize those symptoms that we feel at the
Yeah.
moment that we feel scared to take the leap of faith to make those big changes? Because, like you said, our brain is just, we cannot hack the system apparently. So, how can we go with it and make it as comfortable as possible to still do those scary things?
Yeah, totally. So this is where that brain body connection comes in because a lot of times, like, the fear that you're feeling is anxiety. That's why anxiety continues to grow in society and more people experience anxiety because of the fact that
Mm,
society is growing way quicker than our brains are, and therefore there's so much more that we have never experienced that's happening in the world, and therefore, that just creates way more fears for our brain to have because our brain's like, there's
mm,
700 things that have never happened before. What if one of these kills us? Like, I don't know. We're scared. So, and anxiety shows up very, very, very heavily in the body. So, most of the time, when people are feeling scared about something, they're not just thinking in their head, I'm scared. Their heart's racing. Maybe their like hands are shaking. Their body feels jittery. Maybe you feel nauseous. Maybe you feel lightheaded. All of those bodily sensations are what tell us we feel anxious. So if you can get those bodily sensations under control, you will make the anxiety feel less. So some tools that I personally love to use that I feel like are fail safe. Number one, box breathing. This is the one that I recommend to everyone because you can literally do it anytime, any place, anywhere. All you have to do is breathe in and out. For you breathe in for the same count, hold it for the same count, exhale for the same count, hold it again, and then inhale. The typical time frame people do will be 4 or 6. I prefer 6. I feel like 4 is just a little bit too fast for me. So like inhaling for 6 seconds, holding my breath for 6 seconds, exhaling for 6 seconds, holding my breath for 6 seconds, and doing a few rounds of that. Your breath is the most powerful thing that you have in your body.
it
It
is.
literally can reset your body. It will take your anxiety away. Like, it's almost insane how big of a difference just sitting down and doing a few rounds of box breaths can make for your
Mm.
anxiety and for the way that you feel in your body. Another thing for me when I feel anxious, I almost feel like I'm gonna pass out. Like, there's just like so much going on in my body. So, like, shaking and, like, I would stand up and I would, like, shake my whole body. Like, you can literally shake anxiety out of your body.
You
Like,
can,
again,
you can.
it sounds crazy and, like, extra, but it's
It's
something
not.
you can do so easily,
Hmm.
and you can literally shake it out of you, and it will be gone. Like, just stand up and shake. You'll look maybe a little bit crazy, but, like, shake hard, like, all your limbs, all your body, and watch how it dissipates out of you. That's another big one that I really love. And then just like taking a moment, closing your eyes. Another thing is another type of breath. If you inhale a big enough breath and expand your diaphragm enough, it will trigger your vagus nerve or will activate your vagus nerve, which
Mhm.
triggers parasympathetic, which will immediately calm your body down. So that's a really easy one that you can also do. Just take literally the biggest breath you could possibly take and like extend your belly and extend your rib cage and extend your diaphragm,
Mhm.
and it will activate your vagus nerve and you will immediately start to feel more calm.
Those advices are so amazing. But you said something about anxiety. How do we know that what we feel it's anxiety, and what's the difference between feeling your anxiety and your gut feeling?
Ooh, love this question. Okay. Anxiety is always going to be something scary or fearful. Like in your head, you're going to be thinking, what if I die? Or, maybe not always that dramatic, but it's always going to talk in fears versus your gut feeling is always just going to talk in statements. It's just your gut feeling is going to say, this doesn't feel aligned for me. It's not going to
Mm,
say, I'm really scared that something bad's gonna happen because of this. That's anxiety. Your gut feeling is just gonna say, this doesn't feel right to me. And I don't feel afraid of that fact. I
mhm,
just have a knowing that it doesn't feel right. That's a really good question because that's something that I definitely have to sit with myself a lot. In my anxiety, I struggle with like intrusive thoughts and I have a little bit of like OCD, or I'm specifically have OCPD. So sometimes I'll have a weird superstitious thought,
mhm,
and then I have to sit down and think like, okay, do I actually believe that if I do this one thing, it's going to create a domino effect of tragedies? Or was that just a random anxious thought that I have? And there are times where, like one time I was in a movie theater and this guy walked in like halfway into the movie with like his hood up alone and like sat down and he wasn't in the movie before. And I started feeling just really scared and uncomfortable. I was like, "Oh, I don't know. Like, this is really weird that he just came into this movie." And I literally sat there and I was like, okay, am I being anxious and paranoid, or do I actually just want to leave because I just don't trust this energy? And I
mhm,
sat down and I sat with it. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to trust, like, I'm not having extreme anxiety over it. It's just kind of my gut feeling and intuition that I don't want to be here anymore. So I got up and I left and I listened to my gut.
mm.
And like, there wasn't a news story about the movie theater like getting crazy or anything, but it was a good moment for me to trust and test that feeling of like, am
Mhm,
I being paranoid or is this actually a gut feeling? And sometimes that will happen. Like sometimes your gut might test you at a random time just to see like, are you listening or no? And if you
exactly.
have like anxiety, don't let that make you think like, oh my God, well, if I don't trust it, then everything bad's gonna happen. Like that's not how the world works. And that is literally your anxiety if you feel that way. Like your gut feeling, it's never, ever, ever going to talk to you in fears. It's only just going to be calm statements.
Mhm. And in science, what is actually the definition of gut feeling? Because I know there is also what we call the second brain in our guts. How is
Yeah.
that all related?
Yeah, totally. There is the second brain in your gut, and like your gut health is like pretty much directly linked to your mental health. So if you have like gut health issues, like this happened to me. Like I started having really bad gut health issues, and that's when my anxiety got really bad.
Mm,
And I know
mm,
that that was not a coincidence. Like the two things are completely linked. And like when I healed my gut health, my anxiety lessened a lot. And like obviously during that journey, I was like doing a mindset journey as well as alongside my gut health journey, but all of that stacked on top of each other to help. But scientifically, honestly, your gut feeling is a little bit like walks the line of like it's not necessarily fully scientifically explained, but then kind of most concepts can be like in the terms of quantum physics and things like that. So your gut feeling is your intuition, and it's your brain using all of that information that it receives to make a decision based off of all of that information and all of like your past
mm,
experiences.
mm.
And that's your brain working. That's not your anxiety working. It's like your brain using its logic and its past experiences to make an informed decision. And when that informed decision is not like when anxiety can't bleed into that informed decision, then it becomes your gut feeling.
Mm, I love it. I hope that a lot of people realize that they have to take a good care of their gut. I've been through it myself. I am lactose intolerant. I am gluten intolerant, and all those other things. And for so many years, I was so struggling with my belly, even if I was trying to eat well. I mean, what was needed for my body,
Yeah.
my guts were just not into it. And I just remember now in the state that I was feeling depressed and I was feeling like I was not belonging where I was. I was not really, I was faking it, the happiness. And once I got to redo my whole food diet and figure out what was working for my guts, I felt like a second person, new person, reborn. Yeah, being reborn. And you just feel light when you don't have the weight of your guts being tired and going crazy and acting up. And a lot of people actually carry these things and they think it's normal. And
Yeah.
I was that person. I was like, yeah, my belly is hurting 24/7. It's normal for years.
Yeah.
And then when you realize that no, you can fix it and it's actually not normal, I was thinking, I wish I did that like years before. I would have dived
Totally.
into it years before. So I hope a lot of people who have like gut issues go check into that. It's like it could be the first step of massive life changes because
Yes.
it's amazing. So thank you for how to say it. Thank you for saying it again. And you said you before you lived in Spain. Now you live in San Diego. You lived in Boston. You
Yes.
lived in France?
Yeah, a
Yeah.
little bit.
Okay. So you've been in many different places. Would you say that I think I know the answer, but what is the relation between space, not only countries or cities, but like physical space like this place, or if I would be sitting in my bedroom, what is the relation between space and our brain and how we feel and how the impact on us?
Yeah. So space is very important. And like I'm a huge firm believer in like you have to travel, you have to go to new places, you have to experience new cultures and new people because like we've been talking about like our brain is taking in all the information and the more that our brain sees and knows and learns it literally opens your world up because your brain has expanded what it knows and therefore it will expand what it believes is possible for you in your life. So
Mm.
if you live in the same house your whole life, in the same town, and you see the same people, you never travel and you never move, you you cannot live and expand a life that's as expanded as someone that has traveled and moved and lived in different cities because your brain literally physically does not have that sensory input and that information to expand and create that possibility for you. Like it's literally physically not possible. Like watching
Mm.
movies and TV can help expand that for you, but nothing will ever be the same as it being in person, experiencing that and getting that sensory input and letting your brain grow and expand in that way. So the more space that you can get, the more experiences that you can get in life, you literally will expand the possibilities for what you can do and achieve and have in life because your entire life is based off of what your brain believes is possible. And again, we have the power to train our brain to believe whatever we want is possible and to change our beliefs. But your brain has to see it to believe it. So if it doesn't see it,
Mm.
you can't. You literally can't. You're just at a wall and you
You're
just
still
can't.
limiting yourself actually if you don't do
Yeah,
it. Yeah. And
exactly.
it reminds me of actually a video game. when we were younger, we would all play that video game that you have to level up and then the world expand and expand and then you have more power. So
Yes.
it's actually quite similar to what you just said. And it makes so much sense because if you don't know that those things exist outside, how can you believe that you can master something, or how can you be aware of those things being here? So
Exactly.
with this knowledge, how would we how can we explain that some cities or some spaces automatically feel good to us and some just don't?
I think that that is very energetic, and I think it's really dependent on just like who you are energetically and what energetically aligns with you, because obviously, everything's energy. All energy is a vibration. Vibrations
Mm.
can vibrate at different frequencies. So if you find like attracts like, if you're vibrating at a certain frequency and you enter a space that also vibrates at that frequency, you're gonna feel good. You're gonna feel like you're at home. And when you
Hmm.
enter a space that is not vibrating at the same frequency, you're gonna feel uncomfortable. And that can go multiple ways. Like, I know people love to say high vibe, but it is true, like, the higher the frequency, the more ascended it is, and the lower the frequency, the less ascended it is, and some people naturally are vibrating lower, and the goal would obviously to vibrate higher. So if you're vibrating at a lower vibration right now, or a lower frequency right now, and you enter a really high frequency place, you're gonna probably feel really uncomfortable, and it's
Mm.
probably gonna be in the way that you feel like you're getting called out on the things about you that you want to change, you should change, but you haven't
Mm.
yet, and being called out in that way obviously is uncomfortable and can cause emotions like frustration or anger or jealousy or whatever it is. And then there's the same thing, like if you're vibrating at a high frequency and you go into a really low frequency place, you're probably going to feel really uncomfortable because one, it's going to remind you of the time that you were vibrating at that low frequency, and it's going to remind you how you did not feel good vibrating at that place. And it's also just going to remind you like that frequency is no longer aligned for you. So the people on
Mhm.
that frequency are no longer aligned for you. That place is no longer aligned for you, and it just doesn't feel good to be there anymore.
Mm, mm, mm. I want to go back. I want to go back before we continue with the frequency. I want to go back to what you said about our world expanding. In today's world, we know we need routine. I mean, that's what they told us. We need routine
Yeah.
if you have kids, and even if you don't need it, sometimes we don't have a choice. When we go to work 5 days a week, we have that routine automatically. So I would conclude that at the same time that we kind of need routine, routine can also kill, like, our can kill us. What's your
Yeah.
take on that?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that you first got to see like where are you at? Cuz for me, one thing that I really had to work on was creating a routine for myself because I struggled with consistency. So if I had a routine for myself that helped me be consistent. However, because of the fact that I already struggled with consistency, like I could not just live on a routine 24/7. Like I would want to jump off a cliff and be like, I'm bored and I need change. So I think it's really if to have a healthy routine, which is like the key word there too, because people live in routines, that doesn't mean it's actually healthy or like in alignment with who they want to be at all. So to have a healthy routine is really good, but to have consistent pattern interruption is really crucial. Like you should be doing something at least once a week to interrupt the pattern. Like go take a spontaneous Pilates class, go do a paint and sip night with your friends, go on a date, like do something to interrupt the pattern at least once a week so that your brain doesn't get addicted to the routine, because your brain
Mm,
can become addicted to your routine to the point where we get into the same cycle of like, now I feel anxious if something interrupts my routine or changes my routine because I'm so stuck and addicted to doing this routine. And that obviously is maladaptive at that point.
mm. And when we take routine, fears, you said something about discipline. when we want to change our life or we have a goal to achieve, sometimes we can lack motivation. We're working hard, we don't see result right away. We want to give up. It's difficult. Sometimes we just lack motivation. How
Yeah.
could we hack our brain to uh, keep going?
Yeah, totally. Two things that I like to do. One, before you like start working towards a goal, you have to be really, really clear on not only what is that goal, but what is the goal gonna bring into my life? Like, what do I think getting my dream body is going to actually bring into my life? Like, cool, I'm gonna look the way that I would like to look. What is that actually gonna change about me, my life, and the way that I feel? And at
It's
the
the
end of the day,
why.
everything that you wanna do, it has to go back to the feeling. Like, how do you think this is going to make you feel? What is the feeling you're chasing by working towards this goal? And if you know what that feeling is, then on the days where you don't feel motivated, you can remind yourself, I don't want to do this right now, but I do still really want to feel the way that this is going to make me feel. And, some days maybe you just don't do it. And that's okay as long as you like, for me, it's like I always give myself more grace. Like, if I'm on my period, like, if I don't want to go to the gym and I'm on my period, I'm not going. I'm doing enough right now by like being on my period. So that's okay as long as it doesn't turn into 2 weeks of not going to the gym because 2 weeks ago I was on my period. So remembering that, like giving yourself the grace, remembering how you want to feel. Cause at least for me, like when I just tap back into that feeling, I'm like, all right, let's go. Like I lost the plot for a minute, but I remembered now what I'm working towards and I'm going to do it. And then one thing that I've heard people say before that I really love is you have to think about, like, let's use the gym as an example. The act of going to the gym, like, you're probably not excited about that. You have to think about how are you going to feel after you've done the thing. So after you're going to drag yourself to the gym, you're going to go through the workout, and then when you're leaving the gym, you're going to feel good. You're going to think, thank God I did that. I'm really proud of myself for showing up for that. And
Mm.
I feel better knowing that I did that thing that I kind of already needed to do and already had on my list of things that need to get done. I didn't want to do it. Now it's after the fact, and I'm really glad I did do it. You have to stop doing things because of the way it's going to feel to do them. And you have to start doing things because of the way it's going to feel to have done them.
I love that. I really love that. And I think it's gonna help many, many, many people around us because let's be honest, sometimes the motivation is lacking, life is happening, like you said, but it's really picking yourself up. And yeah,
Yeah.
so I want to go back to the vibrations. We spoke about it in today's world. I'm still kind of surprised that some people don't really believe in it, or when you use that word, they say, "Oh, it's nonsense."
Yes.
Um, to those people, how would you explain the importance of believing in vibrations around us and within us? Because also our organs all vibrate at a certain frequency.
Yeah, totally. Well, anyone that like says it's nonsense, like first of all, it's quantum physics. Like it is literally it's not something that you have to believe in, it's something that's fact and that's
Hmm.
true. That's like if someone were to say I don't believe you're black, I'd be like, "Okay, but I am." Like that doesn't really change the fact
You
that
see
that
it.
is still like I still am black. Whether or
Mhm.
not you believe it, that is a truth that exists. That's the same thing. Like whether or not you believe that we all vibrate at a frequency, it's a fact of a matter
Mhm.
that is happening. And quantum physics is not an easy subject to understand. I by no means am an expert in quantum physics at all whatsoever. However, I have read a few quantum physics heavy books when it comes to like mindset, manifestation, all that,
Mhm.
and I have a very, very, very basic understanding of it. And the way that you can break it down is that we're all atoms. And I think that's something no one's trying to argue. I think everyone believes that we are all made up of atoms. I don't know. You
Mm,
never know. People are trying to argue everything these days. But
mm,
we're all made up of atoms as human beings. And also, every single thing that we see is made up of atoms. Even like the air is made up of atoms. So each atom is a tiny, tiny, tiny particle that vibrates. It's not like it's just sitting still. Everything vibrates and they're all bouncing around, bouncing off of each other. So even though something might seem solid, it's technically in motion no
Mhm.
matter what. It's just not detectable to the human eye. So everything vibrates and has certain frequencies. Like one example is crystals. Like a lot of people don't believe in crystals, but rocks are atoms and each different type of crystal literally is made up of atoms that are vibrating at different frequencies. So that's how crystals work. It's like an amethyst has a certain frequency that is in alignment with whatever its healing property. A rose quartz is at a certain frequency that is in alignment with
Exactly.
whatever its healing property is. So everything has different frequencies. And if anyone ever tries to say, like, oh, that's woo woo, that's BS, I'm like, okay, so when you turn on the radio, and you turn the knob to a certain number. You're turning it on to a certain frequency where there is literally a tower hundreds of miles away from you that is emitting that frequency that's invisible in the air that you can't see and connecting it
Exactly.
to your radio. Like your radio runs on frequencies. Where do you think those frequencies are coming from? They're coming from the fact that everything in the world vibrates at certain frequencies.
Mm, mm,
So
mm.
we like to me, it's kind of I don't know. I feel like when I try if someone were to like try to fight me about frequencies, I might get kind of a little sassy, a little like
Are
kind of
you
like,
like,
okay,
are
well,
you
you
dumb?
sound dumb because this is science. So what's the issue?
Exactly.
So, cause, and I do feel like that's kind of the only way to explain it because it's like,
At
it's
this point,
science
we
based.
should all know that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I completely understand, and it's also how I feel when people say, "Oh, it's BS, it's nonsense. Oh, your girls are into astrology and this and that." You know,
Yeah.
they're kind of being sassy towards us, and I'm like, "Yeah, but like you said, it's facts. When you
Yeah,
cannot argue the fact, it's there. I mean, you can, like you said, you
exactly.
cannot argue that we have a heart and we have a brain. We cannot
Yeah.
argue the fact that there is frequency everywhere and vibration. So, thank you for this explanation. I want to go back to a quote I said at the beginning of the recording, where I said the brain works better under pressure. Well, we know that we need rest, and for example, my mom, she cannot rest. She cannot sleep. She sleeps at 1 a.m. in the morning, and she wakes up so early. She has a really bad relationship with sleep and rest. I personally, I like to switch my phone at 10 p.m. and 10:30. I'm in my bed. My eyes are closed,
Yeah.
and that's it. I always value rest so much. And I know for a fact it's really important for the health of your brain. Can you explain us why is it so important for the brain to take some rest and not be under constant stress?
100%. Like sleep specifically is so important for our brain because that is literally the time when you sleep, there's way less sensory input that is coming into your brain. Your eyes are closed. You're in a room that is most likely not changing smells. So you're not like smelling a bunch of new smells. You're not tasting anything because you're sleeping. The only thing you really have is like hearing. I personally use a white noise machine, so I don't even really hear much besides the white noise machine. So your sensory input decreases so much and it allows your brain to just have that moment of rest or one it's not being overloaded with sensory input. When you sleep, that's the time that your brain uses to store all of your short-term memories and turn them into long-term memories. So if
Mm.
you are not getting enough sleep, you literally are not remembering stuff enough because that is when your brain is storing long-term memories.
Wow.
There also has been research done that connects the possibility of getting Alzheimer's with a lack of sleep because Alzheimer's is when there's a buildup of a certain type of plaque in your brain. And when you're sleeping, that's kind of when your brain is like cleaning everything out and like getting rid of the debris and the extra stuff. It's literally like street sweeping happens at night every other week or whatever. Like when you go to sleep, It's street sweeping time, it's garbage truck time
Mm,
in your brain. Like, your brain literally uses that time to filter and clean itself and store your memories. So, it's extremely, extremely crucial that
mm.
you give your brain that time to rest, and specifically by, like, sleeping, but also, like, when you meditate, that kind of creates that time for your brain to rest. That's why if you feel tired and you don't necessarily have time for a nap, but if you just lay down and close your eyes for 10 minutes, you will literally feel more refreshed and like you've gotten some sleep or rest, because just taking a moment to decrease your sensory input and allow your brain to kind of just run and reset itself can make such a big difference.
So many. My brain is like clicking because, for example, my mom is really losing. She's not even that old, but she's always forgetting things and stuff. And now with your explanation, I mean, we've been saying, me, my sister, and my brother, you need to sleep more. You need to sleep more. I mean, I told you she's sleeping at 1 a.m., and that's really on a good day, you know.
Yeah.
She's not sleeping a lot, but she's sometimes she makes jokes. She's saying, "Oh, I'm sure I'm gonna get Alzheimer when I get old because I'm forgetting so much." But now I'm gonna call her right after to
Yeah.
tell her to get some sleep because, yeah, we know how important sleep is on the brain. But with this explanation, I think we have to take it a little bit more seriously. It's
Totally.
completely fine to have a few here and there to not sleep at 10 or early. I mean, it
Yeah.
happens, like we said, routine, ups and down, motion of the life. But when it's on a consistent basis, it's actually really bad for our health.
It's really, really bad.
And you said something about noise. I know some people sleep with the TV on, for example. Would you also say that it's really bad then?
Yes. Sleeping with the TV on is, and, like, I did this when I was younger. Like, as a child, I always slept with the TV on, but I also had sleep issues. Like,
Yeah.
I would wake up in the middle of the night and be awake for hours. Like, when you sleep with the TV on, you're not giving your brain the full chance to relax because you're asleep, but your ears still work. Your auditory canals are still going, and your brain is still receiving that info because your brain doesn't sleep. It just gets less input or more input. And when you sleep with the TV on, so many episodes of TV, so many things, that's so
Mm,
much auditory input that is still being consumed by your brain the entire time that you are asleep. So over time, that will have a huge effect on your brain because it's not getting to store memories as well. It's not getting to have that full, like, it's kind of like if you have 5 things to do at once, like, if you were to take 3 of those things off your plate, it'd be easier to do those 2 other things. So, by turning the TV off, it's easier for your brain to do all the other things it needs to do while you sleep.
mhm.
By having the TV on, it's just making it so your brain can't do as much because there's something else going on and kind of, like, distracting it because it's still taking in all of that input.
Wow. Thank you so much for this explanation. I want to ask you one last question for us to move forward. What is one thing that we can all do today to work better with our brain, to work closely, to be healthier, that you think we're not doing enough?
Yeah. I think people are not questioning their own beliefs enough. A lot of us, when we're born from the ages from 0 to 7, that is when our brain basically builds itself. And any input it gets from those ages, it kind of creates as law. It's like, okay, well, this is what I learned in ages 0 to 7. So therefore, that's the truth. And that is now my identity. And that is now the outlook and perception that I'm going to, in perspective, I'm gonna live my life with. And then we just go with it. And no one is really questioning their own beliefs enough. And that kind of also ties into, obviously, like, the societal beliefs that society tries to push on us. But just like asking yourself, you feel this way about yourself. Do you actually believe that? Or do you want to believe
Mm,
that? Because you don't have to. Your beliefs, you can literally believe whatever you want in the entire world. And I feel like people forget that they have that power to be like, actually, I don't really want to believe that anymore. I don't believe that anymore. And I'm choosing to have another belief and make
Mm,
another belief and kind of shift my perspective because that belief isn't actually aligned with me anymore.
mm.
So I think that's something everyone can do to kind of change their relationship with their brain. And it's just going to have such a ripple effect in your life. Is like question your own beliefs and make sure what you subconsciously believe is actually something that you want to believe or you do. There's our subconscious mind and our conscious mind, and like the conscious mind is our logical mind and our subconscious is very illogical. So do when you bring an illogical belief to your logical side, do they match? Do you still believe it? And vice versa, like, when you bring your logical beliefs to your illogical side, do they match? Because, like, maybe you have a really big dream in life and your logical side is trying to say, "That's not possible, blah, blah, blah." Like, no, that's actually not true. Like, they both have to align. If just because you have one logical belief or one illogical belief doesn't mean either or is true,
Mm,
and you get to decide what you believe in.
thank you so much. Thank you. You explained to us so many, many, many things. I hope that the listener are opening their eyes and are going to take action today, not tomorrow. I said today. I want to know
Yes.
before we conclude and we say goodbye. What is next for you?
Ooh, good question. Honestly, that is something I've been trying to figure out lately, like, what direction do I wanna go in? Right now, I'm just doing a lot of content creation. I want to start posting more on YouTube. I want to relaunch my podcast. So I have a podcast. I have a lot of episodes out. I've changed, like, the name and the branding 2 times. So right now, if you wanna search it up, the podcast is under Perspective Sis. And all the episodes that are currently out right now were under my old podcast name, the Elevated Podcast. So, like, the topics of those episodes are more in alignment with that. I do want to relaunch my podcast and just do more talks like this, more just like, I don't know, girly pop chats, like
Mm, mm,
everything
mm,
I do, like having confidence and dating and lifestyle and friendships, talking about those, but everything that I do just always has a little bit of neuroscience in it because of who I am and the way, like the knowledge that I have and
mm,
the way that I move through life. So talking about topics like that, but also being able to throw in like I'm struggling with confidence. And here's actually why in your brain that's happening and how
mm.
you can kind of hack your brain to change that thing. So that's what's next for me, as well as eventually I want to write a book that has like a lot of this information in it, but explained in a really easily digestible way so you can kind of apply it to your life and understand it.
Amazing. So I'm definitely going to keep up with it. If you listeners want to keep up with her, all her details are in the show notes, her Instagram, her website, her podcast, everything. If you want to work with her, I would say go run today and you will find her information in the show notes. Thank you again, Lauren. I love this conversation and maybe in the future, another conversation. But for
Yes.
now, honestly, I'm really, really grateful. And thank you from the bottom of my heart because I love the information and like like you said, this is my life. I'm doing this journey and I get inspired and I hope people around me get inspired too. So thank you again.
Yeah. Totally. Thank you so much for having me. This has been such a fun convo. I love talking about this stuff. So thank you, thank you, thank you for holding this space for me today.
You're so welcome. Thank you, listeners. Don't forget to like, to subscribe, to share, to ask your question in the show notes, in the comments, and see you next time. Ciao, ciao.